Welcome to another Cup of Joe. I'm your host. Who am I? Joe Tumalo, CEO of PG Partner. That's it. And my guest, Greg Wilson, CEO of Stick Figure Fundraising. Me. Me. All about you all the time.
Yep.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me. Got
My
my mug and them all ready to roll.
So, Greg, you have worked a lot of places and a lot of levels and doing consulting now and just involved, engaged in a lot of gift officers and leaders, and charities. I don't know if there's a simple solution or if this would even make sense. Wondering, are there ways to better qualify gift officers before we hire them? Now, on the first hand, not everybody, a lot of people are struggling to find good people. So it's not like we have a huge pool to deal with. This is what I hear from clients. We don't have a huge pool to deal with. And they seem good, but how do we know that they won't leave in 12 months? So I remember being a out of college in 1984. We had these big companies come and interview graduating seniors. And the big thing, I was in food marketing of all things, long story, for about 6 months. But Procter & Gamble was the big 500-pound gorilla then, and everybody wanted to get a job there. And I had an opportunity. And I remember I had 3 interviews, and then they took me out in the field on the 4th interview. They actually took me out on sales calls. This is back in the 80s. And I didn't get it, which I'm glad I didn't in hindsight, because I've been so blessed with a great career. But I just remember that they were really taking their time, and not just in interviews on the Zoom, but let's go out and interact with people and see how you do. I don't know if people have time, if we have enough candidates to even do that. Your thoughts, Maestro?
Sure. I mean, I have a whole bunch of thoughts on this, I guess. The first one I would say, as much as we want to be in depth with our interview process, I think in today's market, you need to move fast. You need to be pretty quick about it. I had a mentor a long time ago give me his depressing view on hiring, that, only 50% of your hires are going to be good hires anyway. So just hire fast. And I was like, oh, okay. It's not really like so encouraging. I like to think who we hire is going to stay here. But the big ones that I've always, half jokingly, half serious, always focused on is, focus on attitude and focus on more like cultural fit than almost anything else. Maybe their background's not perfect. It's not exactly what you're looking for. But do they fit in with the rest of the organization? Do they seem to, are they able to interact with, a couple of your board members in a group setting, and that can still be done on Zoom. You can work these interviews through pretty quickly still. But I think that there's some other ways that you can find out if they are a good fit, rather than, stringing it along for, 6 months to see if they'll are the right person. Because in today's market, as you indicated, they could have 3 other offers and change jobs twice if it takes you 6 months to go through an interview process. So I think really focus on, how are they relating with you if you're going to be their direct supervisor, and then how do they interact and respond to others within the organization. So maybe you have them have an interview with some program people. Maybe, I like having them interview with a couple of board members, preferably in a group setting. And again,
excuse me, why group setting?
One, because it's probably easier to get your board members to participate that way than like a one-on-one. But 2, I mean, second one is if you can prep your board members ahead of time. One person can be asking questions while the other one or two are maybe more listening and like kind of feeling for those answers that the candidate's putting out. Rather than just when it's a one-to-one, a lot of times your focus is split on like, okay, I have to ask Joe this question. I have to, listen to it and jot it down. And you're not big picture absorbing everything else that you're putting off as a candidate that way. I just think it's good that, which is why sometimes it even works great with having team visits with donors. One person can be running the conversation and the other one's sort of picking up on all of the body language or looking at everything else that's in a donor's office, which is a whole nother rabbit hole to go down at some point kind of deal. But I think if there's more people there, you're going to sort of dig down to the essence of a person a lot faster than it is if it's just a one-on-one. At least, again, in my opinion, I feel like as humans, we can kind of figure out what makes, the other person tick and just sort of like work our answers that way. But if you're dealing with multiple people at a time, then you have to be more of yourself. And I have no idea if there's any like psychological or scientific truth behind all of that. That's just been sort of my gut feeling. So
are you saying that I would think if you could do it and you have a strong enough relationship with the donor to say, we're looking at this candidate. Again, there's somebody a donor you really know well.
yeah,
You really have personal conversations with. And would you be okay if we just visit, if he or she came on and visit with me to see you? Anything inappropriate about that?
yeah. I mean, I don't think so. I think that would be a pretty neat, and maybe you could do it where the candidate and the donor, you're having that conversation at the organization's facility. So you're not inviting somebody into like the donor's house or anything like that.
Right. Good point.
But yeah, any different perspective on how they think that person might fit in with the organization as well. And that's why I always suggest using board members, because you should have better access to them and they should be more flexible with things like that.
Great. Good stuff. Anything else? Probably a lot, but anything that comes up top of your head now?
No, I mean, that's sort of the first ones there. Again, I think most of what we do in the fundraising world is, it's again, to paraphrase one of my mentors, it's not rocket science, but there is a science. So I think a lot of what we do can be taught. So you want to hire for, who has a good attitude, who has a good fit for the organization, and who might, on an ideal, like absolutely ideal setting, who might have a personal connection back to the mission that way, that they're able to talk about it and be passionate about that mission versus just like, man, I'm here to raise some money. So, make a gift today. Like, no, instead of like conveying the, really the mission from a passion point of view, or from a, closer to a donor point of view versus just a fundraiser point of view.
I have clients where the gift officers have been, again, in healthcare, have been patients, and they're great. I mean, just the passion, right? They've lived it. Yeah. And yeah. I can't compete with that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah. Good stuff. Greg Wilson, CEO of Stick Figure Fundraising. How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. Easiest way is by email, and that's just greg@stickfigurefundraising.me, or you can check out the site, which is stickfigurefundraising.me as well.
Thank you, Greg. As always, be well.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Yep. See ya.
Take care.